All right, what's up? Welcome back for another awesome episode of the Fit 40 podcast. Today we have one of my awesome clients, Kristen, in the house. She is ready to drop some knowledge that she has accumulated over the last 18 months of being in the Fit 40 program, staying on the plan, and getting some incredible results. So before we dive into that, Kristen, welcome to the show, or welcome back,
Thanks,
I
Brian.
should say.
Thank you, Brian, for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, I know before we hit the record button, we talked about last time you were on, and it was almost exactly a year ago. So, this is awesome that we get the follow up because I know a lot of people see the 12-week transformations, the month or two transformations, and they're like, wow, that's awesome. But you never see people saying, yeah, this is what I look like 2 years later. And we're almost like we're three-quarters of the way there. So it's like I think this is a rare opportunity for people to understand what it looks like down the road and cater their expect or adjust their expectations accordingly. And I mean, based on your results, I'd say they're going to get pretty excited at the possibility of achieving what you've achieved.
I agree. 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they will.
Awesome. So let's go down and talk about, or let's go down the metrics and see exactly what that looks like. So if anybody has never heard Kristen's previous episode, I highly recommend checking it out after this. But if you haven't checked it out already, in that time since Kristen started, from now or from then until now, she has lost over 24 pounds of body fat, gained over 21 pounds of lean muscle, and if you guys are doing the math there, that means she lost 3 pounds overall on the scale. Now, a lot of people, when they look at 3 pounds on the scale over 18 months, a lot of people would be really, really bummed out. Like, let's be honest. A lot of people would. And previous you probably would have too, right?
Absolutely. You're not wrong. I'm very happy with where I'm at. The old me would have looked at the scale and said, darn, what are you doing, girl?
Yep. And I think this is a big point that we want to start off with, which is the difference between weight loss and fat loss. Because a lot of people are out there burning body fat, building muscle, but they look down on the scale and it shows nothing. And it's like all their efforts were wasted, even though they weren't. So, in your own
Yes.
experience, like in the past, what were your, I guess, guiding lights before you joined the program? What was your mentality around getting in shape and losing weight? And what were those goals like?
So, on the first episode that we did a year ago, I talked a lot about my journey. I talked about my chronic dieting, how I chronic dieted on and off most of my adult life. The scale was the driving force for me starting to work out. I had just been diagnosed with Hashimoto's. I spent a year at a functional medicine doctor taking supplement after supplement, feeling worse, having really bad anxiety, really bad depression. Um, so going to the gym, it was okay, I want to work out and I want to lose weight. And that didn't happen. I worked out, I got lean. I didn't like the results. I mean, I was lean as can be. I look back, it was recent where I saw pictures and I was like, damn girl, you look good. But um I wasn't happy. I wasn't sleeping. I was anxious. I was depressed. I was really just hyper focused on the scale. That's where it was at. And I was just not happy because of the scale.
Yeah. Yeah, the scale. I know you and me have had many, many conversations about the scale because it can literally ruin your day, even if you're doing everything right. And I know
You're not
you've had a
wrong.
few times. I know you've had a few times where the scale went up, but in the beginning, it kind of like was like, okay, you caught it, and you're like, I know I shouldn't care about this, but I do. And over the time that we've been together, you've transitioned to like, okay, now I know I see it for what it is, and I'm like, hey, this is not the end all be all. How did you get to that point where it turned into like possibly ruining your day to it's just data?
Practice and a lot of practice and a lot of those uncomfortable feelings and just continuing to understand what my body is doing. Um, Inches, we take measurements. That helped so much because I'm seeing the full picture now as to what's happening with my body, and I'm so much more aware, and through continuing to do this and trusting the process and trusting you and seeing that, yes, I can go up in weight on this scale, but my clothes fit me better, I'm feeling better, I'm sleeping better, I just feel so much better now. And continuing um to see what my body's doing. I appreciate that so much more now.
That's, I mean, you hit the nail right on the head with where my head was at with all the things when I think about all that you've accomplished, I'm like, these are like the big ones that come to mind. And how you just said, when it comes to like all these things that are bonuses, all these benefits, it's kind of like when we talked initially about, okay, so you want to lose X amount of weight, but why? And I think that you've pretty much illustrated that point where it's like, okay, the weight's cool and all, but like, what are we chasing that the weight's going to get us? And when we could go from one place to another and say, we're going to focus on those benefits, not just a number, then all of a sudden it becomes more fulfilling. And it's actually easier to hit those goals when we take the weight out of the equation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the past year, my sleep has is incredible. I put my head on the pillow and I sleep like a rock. My husband will look at me and be like, "How do you do that?" That is like the added bonus to all of it is my sleep quality has the best it's ever been. And I can say that. I can't tell you the last time I slept this good because I haven't. So yes, my sleep quality is point on.
Yeah. And I think one of the big reasons for that is the fact that we got to that place where you're no longer starving yourself and trying to lose weight.
Mm-mm,
We actually started
mm-mm.
increasing calories. So, would you like to tell people listening exactly like what a reverse diet and what actual maintenance looks and feels like for, or how you experienced it?
I was really, really, really hesitant at first. I was like, this is uncomfortable. When you're like, yeah, Kristen, the scale's gonna go up. And I'm like, yeah, I don't like that. And you're like, just trust me. And I'm like, okay. We're at it. We were at it's been like 10 months of reverse dieting. And the key indication for me was last year when I went away, my husband and I went away to Connecticut, and I thought, oh, we were just outside, we were doing stuff. And I told you I slept like a rock and I didn't track calories that entire weekend. I mean, we were only gone a couple days, but I didn't track calories and I felt so good. And you're like, Kristen, what number do you want to be at? And I gave you a number. And then you're like, yeah, no, we're throwing that out the window. We're not doing this. You're going to start reverse dieting now. And I'm like, I was so resistant about it. I didn't want to reverse diet. I'm like, Brian, I don't like it. The scale's going to go up. And you're like, trust me. So I
Hey,
said, okay, we're
to
going
be
to do this.
fair, I prepped you because I
You
was like,
did.
I think we were maybe like at the next phase call, like the 12 weeks before. And I'm like, I'm just warning you that after that trip, it would probably be a good idea. And you're like, fine.
Too, and you're like, too bad we're doing it. You did prep me, absolutely. Everything we do, you tell me, and I whine about it, and I'm like, I don't want to do it. And you're like, Kristen, just do it. So anyway, we started reverse dieting. And of course the scale went up. And I was like, okay, it's not terrible. It's not bad. And then it went up again. And like I'm within like 5 pounds, like from reverse dieting on the scale. However, my inches have gone down. My clothes fit me better. I'm sleeping better. I'm full. I'm not snacking as much. I don't feel like what's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know what I'm looking to say. I just feel fucking awesome. Let's just say that I feel so good.
There's the title.
I feel
Feel
good.
how to feel fucking awesome.
I feel great. I do. Like I said, my hair is growing better. Like everything. Like I
I
just feel
remember you
great.
mentioning that. I'm like, I know there's a lot of benefits to getting your calories up to like what a maintenance level should be,
Hmm.
but I'm like, I've never heard of that one. But okay, hair,
My
skin, nails, it's great.
uh-huh. I remember I'm that client where my toenail had a crack in it forever and it healed itself from like eating calories and like increasing things. So yes, my hair, my nails, my skin, all of it feels good.
Yeah, just goes to show when you fuel your body and give it what it wants, it usually does what you want.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's huge. And those are some of the big green lights that I think you've noticed throughout the journey. Are there any more, like if we were to pick out a handful that you've noticed along the way, what are some things that you are doing now that you didn't do prior that are almost like anchor habits where it's like, if I don't do this, then I just fall off track. But because I do this, I feel amazing.
I'm really, really, really consistent. I will say that. My consistency is on point.
I can
Unless I'm
attest to
sick,
this.
yeah, if unless I'm sick or like my shoulder or my knee like bothering me, I stay on track. I've deviated a couple times and you've told me to. Kristen, make sure you don't track calories this weekend. And it's so much easier now to just, I'm so much more relaxed. If I eat a little bit more, I'm not upset about it, you know? I feel like I'm ready to go up in calories. I know we've talked about that before too, but I feel like I'm just trusting the process. I'm trusting you. And from everything I've gotten in the past year, it's the way for me to continue to go. I'm not saying it's for everybody, but somebody who has long-term dieted for most of my adult life, it was what I needed. Physically, I'm smaller. The scale doesn't dictate my life anymore. So
Yeah, and I
it's
I
all good
love
things.
love hearing that. And when it comes to consistency, I'd like to dive a little bit deeper on that because a lot of people view consistency as this perfection. Like you need everything to be on point 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and then it ends with them missing a day or two and then feeling like a failure and burning out. What would you say to somebody who is like, I know consistency is important, I just can't get myself to be consistent? What would you say if you were in their shoes?
So it's almost like for me, I have a goal in mind and I want to achieve that goal, but it's never perfect. Like you don't go up it's never the perfect climb to get to that, like to the top of the mountain. There's bumps along the way. You're going to fall down, you're going to skin your knee, you're going to hurt yourself, right? You don't get there like going straight up. So it's kind of like this, like a wave. And when you're riding the wave, that's great. When you have a moment, that's okay. Get back on it. Um, I've had bumps along the way the past year. I traveled for work and I didn't work out a single day. I went over my calories 5 days a week, you know, that entire week. But I stuck with the 3 plate rule. Why? Because I knew that's what worked for me. I had no control over where we were eating. Like the whole week was just insanely stressful. But I came back home and I got right back on plan. You know, it's never smooth sailing. You have to have bumps along the way because when you get through that, that's how you learn and you just keep going.
Yeah. And I remember that stretch where you didn't work out and you just ate whatever you were able
Mhm.
to. And the numbers barely budged because
They
these
didn't
simple,
budge at all.
basic concepts work extremely well. But I'd like to talk about how when you got back, because there have been some stretches like that one, like when you went away for some like random stuff, but you always came
Yeah.
back and bounced back immediately. And I think
Mhm.
it's because you've officially hit that place where you appreciate the fact that living this lifestyle makes you feel good. And it's like you're chasing something good instead of saying, oh, I got to get back on it. Ugh. Like, how did you get to that point?
I've always had that mentality though, you know? It's
Hmm.
just my mind like my mindset has shifted now. I feel so good when I'm on plan that I don't want to be off. And it's like and it's not even a plan, it's everyday life. It's living your life. It's, you know, a celebration or an anniversary or a vacation. I just feel like it's a normal. It's part of my everyday routine. So I feel good when I'm on. I feel good when I'm off. So, you know, it's one of those things that it's just life for me. It's what I do.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think that the biggest struggle that most people seem to run into is that when they're on the plan, it's this big burden. It's like restrictive and it feels miserable and they're always sore or they're always tired. And it's like, why would you want to keep doing something like that?
That was me 7 or 8 years ago. I was chronically tired. I was exhausted. I was chronic dieting. I did everything wrong. And because I know what I know now and where I've been, like this is the best that I've ever felt. So I don't want to go back to that. So if I just continue to do this, it works for me.
Absolutely. Cause I mean, when you know how good feels, you're like, I don't ever
Mhm.
want to not feel this way.
No, I don't get how I used to do. And I mean, don't get me wrong. At the time, I felt like it's what I was doing. I was killing myself. Literally, I was killing myself. It's a good thing I hurt myself. It's a good thing I had that time away from all of it. And like looking back now, all the things that I've learned along the way have brought me to this point.
And I love that mentality because That's another big thing. I think as far as the mental
Mhm.
side of things, you've become a master at this where it's like this stuff happened for you, not to you. And it's like if we could always
Yeah.
find that lesson, then we're always going to get better. And like we say in Foot 40, BBP, better beats perfect.
Yes, it does.
I had to toss that in
Absolutely.
there. But yeah, no, I mean, to like I said last time, to say I'm a proud coach is a gigantic understatement because you are the embodiment of like what I hope for every single client that comes through the program. And I mean, this is why you're like our captain because I've heard from multiple
Thank
people
you.
that like, oh, Kristen's like who I want to be when I grow up. Like she's who I look up to. So to have El Capitan on here sharing her wisdom, it's like I
You.
know it's gonna the people that are listening who are clients who know who they are, they're gonna be chuckling a little bit, but the people listening who are hearing you for the first time are gonna get so much good information out of this and understand what a good transition to this lifestyle looks like, where it's like you're thriving. You're not just like gutting it out and saying, I gotta be disciplined 24/7.
Not at all. I mean, I don't like, don't get me wrong, there's been times where I've eaten many more calories than I, like, do on a daily basis, those are for special occasions, we're going to Vegas next month, my husband and I. Am I tracking my calories that week? Absolutely not. Old me would have been like, "Oh my gosh, how am I gonna make this work? What's the scale gonna say? What's it gonna look like?" No, there's none of that going on. I'm looking forward to walking and enjoying good food and good company and just having a good time. It's one of those things where life is way too short to hyper focus on a scale or anything like that. It's so short and I missed out on so much because of that. And I'm not missing out anymore. We're making it work and I'm happy with that. 100% making it work.
Yes, yes, yes. Love all of that. And for anybody listening that's like, oh, I could never do that. Like, there's no way. To be fair, Kristen, you have proven it to yourself time and time again. So it's like you just really need the reps to prove, hey, this is possible. I know I'm going to gain X amount of weight and then I'm going to see it dissipate over the next week, like we've talked through in the beginning. Like, you just need this stack of undeniable proof that says, okay, I've done this before. I know I'll be okay. And then mentally, you're like, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm not even like next month for the month of April. I'm not submitting my stats to you. Why? I'll just be getting back from Vegas. Or maybe it'll be like 2 weeks later.
Yeah,
I'm
you could
not
put them in ahead
submitting
of
that.
time. Just get it in
I could do that too.
beforehand.
I could do that too.
But
I, I
this
thought
also
I actually thought
speaks
about
sorry, go ahead.
I actually thought about doing that too.
Yeah. Hey,
So,
it's fine because this also speaks to the flexibility aspect because rigidity is a setup for failure. So having these
mhm.
basic things that we get done at certain times and it's like, okay, we can do it here, we could do it there. And no, that we're not being loosey goosey with it. We're just saying, okay, this is how this is going to fit. This is how this peg is going to fit into the square this month.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that now to put a cap on it, because I know, I mean, we've covered a lot in a very little amount of time, but I'd love to just kind of get your like top tips. So if somebody was in your shoes day one, what would you say to them to get going in the right direction? Like somebody who's now we're in February who still hasn't gotten started on their resolution, or maybe they started and fell off. Like, what would you tell?
Pick one thing. Pick one thing you can do. Pick one thing that you can do in a period of time where you will continue to show up for yourself and have no excuses. When I first started, I only worked out 2 days a week, Mondays and Fridays. Why? I work from home on Mondays and Fridays. I had no excuse. So remove all excuses. Can if it's drinking water, right? That's when we start off with too, like drinking water. I drink an insane amount of water, but I've always done that. I've had to cut back on water. However, regardless of that, this is not about me. This is about you. Pick one thing you can focus on and stick with it, and um, then move on to the next thing that you want to do. Stick with that, and make these goals small. They don't have to be this big, number. The smaller the goal, the easier it is to obtain it, I feel like. So, filling your plate with vegetables or like a little bit, remove the excuses is my biggest thing. People say they want to do something, but then they have an excuse as to why they can't. I think that's kind of what I have to say. That's like my biggest thing.
No, I
Um,
love that, especially the part where it's like get rid of the excuses because
mhm,
it's natural. We're human. We're going to be like, well, I can't do
right.
this because of that, and it's like challenge that. Like I know one of the things I say to a lot of the clients is like, why don't you just challenge that thought and just say, is that 100% true? Like I can't do this because I don't have the time. Okay, fair. Do you have a calendar? Like, did you actually look at how much time you have throughout the day? Why don't we challenge that and find out?
Yeah, rather than like the other day. I didn't want to walk on the treadmill. It was an off day. I didn't feel like it. Like I just didn't want to. I was tired. I was cold. I'm like, well, I'm going downstairs to walk on the treadmill. And I'm like, I'm only gonna do 20 minutes. And then I'm like, a good song came on. I'm like, well, we're just gonna keep going. And it turned into like 30 minutes. You know why? Because that's just what happened. It's I remove the excuse. It's like, Kristen, just get out of your own way. You're being a baby. Just go do it. Like, just suck it up and do it. And I did, and I feel better that I did it. And when you achieve that goal or when you accomplish that, you're gonna feel better because it's like, oh, wait a minute, I can do this. When I first started with you, I don't even think you knew this. Like one of the workouts was a reverse fly. It was one of them. That was one of the movements for upper body. And I'm like, I can't do this. My shoulder wouldn't allow me to do it. And it's like, but I don't want to change that. I don't want to change the exercise because it's something that you need to do, in life. You need to move your arm back if you need for whatever reason. And I started with two TV remote controls because I physically could not do it. And I did that for a couple weeks. And I'm like, okay, I don't know the amount, a couple ounces. And then it's like, now we're going to go to a water bottle that weighs a little bit more. And it was really increments of baby steps along the way to get to that point where now I can, my workout today was amazing, the amount of weight that I was throwing around today. But, it was the baby steps. It's the little things that nobody sees that you notice that will continue to inspire you and motivate you to be consistent and move along with it.
And I love 2 things about that. Number 1 is you just talked about how you're like, "I gotta meet myself where I'm at," which I think many, many people fall into the trap of being like, "I need to do this much weight or I need to do this long workout." And it's like, no, wherever you're at, whatever you can handle, start there because that's the only starting point that's going to actually lead to progress. The other one, you're just gonna beat yourself up and burn yourself out and feel like a failure over. So start somewhere where you can actually see success. And then the
And
second
stuff.
thing. Sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 no. You finish. Sorry,
Oh,
I
no,
cut you off.
it's okay. I was just gonna say number 2 is that you learn to fall in love with the result more than the immediate discomfort of the actual workout. Because to be totally honest, some people genuinely will not enjoy working out. And even if you do love working out, I've been working out for what, going on 20 years now. And there are days where you're just like, I hate this. I do not want to do this, but you show up anyway because you know once you're done, if you're doing the right workouts, you feel better at the end. And then even if you're pushing it a little bit, you know your sleep is going to be better. You know you're going to have more energy the rest of the day. You know that you're going to start seeing the results that you want and you're going to feel better about your commitment to the plan. So it's like the fact that you understand like what the end goal is going to be if you do the thing. I think that's one of the best, I guess you could call it like the glue for consistency.
Yeah, and I also don't care what everybody else is doing. I don't care that, I work out at home and people are going to the gym or people are doing this or people are doing that. I'm in my own lane. I'm doing my own thing. And I don't care what people think about it. I'm very, very, very happy working out at home. I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I stopped comparing myself to what other people were doing and the progress other people were having, and I'm focusing on me.
Yeah. And I love that because honestly, that's how everybody should operate. It's like, what do I need? What's best for me? And let's go
Mhm.
from there because it's really all
Yeah.
about your own journey.
Yeah, it is. I don't care that, somebody is at the gym for 3 hours lifting, X amount or doing this class. And, great for them. That's awesome. But this is my life. I'm the one reaping the benefits of how I'm feeling, not them.
Exactly.
So I stay
Exactly.
in my own lane.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Now, before we put a cap on this, is there any other tidbits of advice that you'd like to let all the listeners know that you think could really, really help their journey? Is there anything else that comes to mind?
Other than trusting you 100%, no.
Yeah, last bit of info, get a coach, it helps.
Coach helps 100%. It's one of those things where I started this for, reasons, I was at that point in my life where I was ready to do it. I didn't know 18 months ago that this is where I would be. My goal initially was, get stronger and, lose a little bit of weight. And that's happened, but the goals evolve over time, they change. And that's okay. That's a good thing. Your goals should change over time, because once you get to that weight loss journey or that goal, I should say, and that journey stops, what's the next thing? Push yourself to, or, push yourself and sit in those feelings of being uncomfortable, because sometimes being uncomfortable is exactly where you need to be. Um, yeah, and trust you.
Yep. Couldn't have said it
And how,
better
oh, you know
myself.
what? You know what? I do have one more thing, and I was thinking about it just a second ago. Have fun with it. Honestly,
Yes.
have fun with it, because if you're doing it and you're not having fun, what's the point?
Exactly. There should be some level of enjoyment. I don't think it gets said
Mhm.
enough when it comes to fitness and nutrition because everybody's like, look at how hardcore I am. Look at how dedicated I am.
Fun.
It's like, this should be enjoyable. Why are we doing anything if it's not enjoyable?
Mhm. Do you know how many times my dog or my cat come downstairs and I'm in the middle of something and Marco's taking over my mat and I'm like, well, I need to position myself. Oh, hold on a minute. I need to kiss my dog or like turn the music up louder, shake my behind as I'm doing something in between reps. Like, I don't care. I'm having fun with it. You know, um, it's all good. I don't care what people think. I'm having a good time with it, and that's all that matters.
Yep. And this is what you guys can expect 18 months down the road. And if you guys are listening and you're like, I want what Kristen's got, like, I want to get to that point, the very first thing that you need to do is go apply for the Fit 40 Kickstart. Every single month, I'm going to take on 10 people for free for 3 weeks to give them a taste of the Fit 40 program and see if it's right for them. So if you want to be one of those lucky 10 people, go apply. The link is in the show notes, in the caption, wherever you're watching or listening. So don't waste any time. Don't say I'll do it eventually. Go do it right now. And Kristen, thank you again so much for coming on. I really appreciate this. And I know everybody listening got so much out of it.
Thank you for having me. I'll have to do it in another year because that'll be 2.5 years.
Yes, we will. We're just gonna have to mark the
We
calendar. Every
could.
February, we're gonna get you back on.
Yes, I like that 100%. We should do
It'll,
this.
it'll be your
Definitely.
birthday episode. We'll just make it a thing.
It will be because I just had a
Yes,
birthday.
yes. And happy birthday again for that.
Thank you. It'll be my gift to everybody listening.
There you go. Very generous of you. All right. And to everybody listening, thank you so much for making it all the way to the end. I hope you found it valuable. I will see you next time. But until then, go kick some ass. See you later.